You guys see it. You guys see it. They wrote us off. We didn't write back. Bengals started the season off 3-3, and everybody said it's time to panic. Everybody said the Bengals were done. And man, let me tell you this right now: the Bengals bounced back in a big way. I'm your host Malik Wright. Joining my co-host as always, my best friend Daniel Alameda, and we're here each and every single Bengals recap game to discuss the good, the bad, the ugly. Today was a lot of good.
Yeah.
Bengals look like their former selves. The Bengals look like they were absolutely on fire. And I know the city of Cincinnati is pretty pumped about it. And I'll be honest with you, man, most victories, I'm like, it's a victory.
Yeah.
I'm pumped about this one because to me, this was a statement-making victory, not just because of the team you beat. It's the fashion in which you beat them. And it's where you went to beat them. It brings me back to that old saying from last year: "Walking your trap, take over your trap."
Mhm.
Bengals did exactly that, man. Bengals had a big game on the ground. Bengals had a big game through the passing game, and the defense just showed up and showed out in such a big way. We've got to discuss it. We've got to talk about it. But Daniel, I know you have a lot of things that you want to say, so the floor is yours.
So obviously there's going to be some things that we criticize about this team, but let me just put this in a perspective for you guys. This performance, you can obviously nitpick, little things, whether it's safety, and we'll talk more about all those other things, but this is as much of a complete performance as a team could possibly put together, right? You look at the defense side of the ball, you get turnovers. You look at the offensive side of the ball, Joe Burrow didn't complete 4 of his 32 passes. This was an amazing performance. And once again, man, I just look at this and going back to, if you guys watched the show State of the Jungle on Wednesday, we talked about what was the biggest key to victory for the Bengals offense. It's getting other receivers involved. And this was one of my biggest takeaways was you got T. Higgins involved, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 60-something yards. Tyler Boyd, the huge touchdown. Trenton Irwin stepped up. You got, Joe Mixon involved. You got people involved outside of Jamar Chase. So first off, everybody's watching. Round of applause to the coaching staff.
For sure.
Round of applause, because it shows that they finally found a rhythm. And round of applause to Joe freaking Burrow. Like, respectfully, this is the performance that you expect out of an elite superstar level quarterback. There is no more question. People were saying before, well, Joe Burrow's not, look at his stats. Joe Burrow's not him. Joe Burrow's not this. This is what a superstar quarterback looks like, because don't get it twisted. While the coaching staff did a great job, while the players did a great job, if Brock Purdy was the Bengals quarterback, if Sam Darnold, if the other quarterbacks were the quarterback of the Bengals, they would not have had the performance that Joe Burrow had. He was dicing up the defense, and he made those Joe Burrow-esque plays. So my biggest takeaway, man, is this offense. They put it all together. Joe Burrow had an elite game, and man, this is as much of a complete game as you can ask for. So I'm just happy right now, man.
Man, for sure, there's a lot to be happy about. Lou came out with a different style of defense. He ran a little bit of a 3-4 to give the Niners a little taste of your money, make sure they push the pocket. And man, I just got to say, man, I'm just pumped up because this was the game that the Bengals needed from a confidence standpoint, from a morale standpoint. This is the type of game that you needed to, give the fan base, right? This is the type of, win that you needed to give the players in the locker room, the coaching staff, because it shows the Bengals are the team that we thought that they were. And we said going into after the bye, we said if the Bengals were going to be that Super Bowl team, or be down there in the thick of things, they need to win a game like this.
Yep.
They need to win a game like this. And boy, did they ever. Now, next week, you go back home and you take on the Buffalo Bills, a team that has not looked like themselves. But let me just say this right here. It's a huge fucking game. Yep. I'll say that again. It's a huge game. And the Bengals need to continue to build momentum off of it. This is a game that I also think that they can win as well, because the Bills have a lot of chinks in the armor. But keeping it with the Niners game, it showed you there's offense, there's defense, and there's special teams. Dare I say the Bengals dominated everywhere today against the Niners, right? Now, the Niners tried to exploit what has been the Bengals' weakness for quite some time, which is covering tight ends, and they had some success in that department.
They had a lot of success,
man.
At the end of the game.
But I will say, man, this is a game that the Bengals needed. And, where there was a lot of chatter going into this. Oh, my God, the Niners lost 2 in a row. There's no way they're going to lose 3 in a row. And I try to tell everybody, relax. You have to worry at this point what you can do, not about what the other team is going to do, how capable the other team is. Because if you walk into a game like this scared and not confident, that's how you lose. That's how you get steamrolled. And the Bengals showed up in such a big way, man. I'll tell you, man, Yoshi.
Yes.
Yoshi boss, man. It's funny. I was posed the question when the beginning of the season started, and people said, Malik, who do you think is going to have more success, from a passing, in the passing game, Yoshi or Charlie Jones? And we know Charlie Jones is dealing with an injury, but I saw a little bit more of opening for Yoshi to have a lot more success in this offense because of his blazing speed down the sideline and what he can offer. But man, Bengals proved today that, hey, when you get all your wide receivers on the field, I don't just mean Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. I'm talking about Trent Irwin. I'm talking about Yoshi Voss. You give these teams a lot of things to think about. And while we're on the mindset of giving praise to people, guys, it's time to have a Jonah Williams conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's time to have a Jonah Williams conversation, and a good one at that. I am hereby saying the Bengals must re-sign Jonah Williams. He has played so fucking good at right tackle, man. He had the offensive line, the way they were gelling together today, man, against that ferocious pass rush of the Niners. Now, I know they haven't been performing up to the best of their ability, but it's still a very well-known pass rush. And I think they'll get better as the year goes on. But just to see the way the offensive line kind of just came together, but just seeing how well Jonah Williams has played, it's really time to have that conversation, because there were a lot of people going into the season who were not believers of Jonah Williams, who wrote him off. You re-sign Jonah Williams, that's one less issue or area that you need to focus on or have questions about going into the offseason. I think Jonah Williams has made the statement that he deserves to be the right tackle for the Cincinnati Bengals future. Daniel, what say you?
Yeah, I think that once again, that's where the hard part is the money, right? And that this is the conversation where, okay, now that he's performing well, how much is he going to ask for? But I agree with you. If you're the Bengals and the money makes sense, it makes sense, because the way the offensive line is performing right now, and what I've learned in the NFL is, hey, continuity is everything. If you can keep this same offensive line, I know, there's no real superstar in the interior of the offensive line, but if you can keep them together for a whole other year, you're building something special. I agree with you. I think Jonah, if the money's right, and that's where we'll definitely see. There's a couple other things I want to touch on real quick. Mike Hilton, he was one of the players where I looked at and said, hey, like respectfully, like at the beginning of the season, after last year's playoffs against the Chiefs, I was like, man, Mike Hilton, he's just struggling in man coverage a lot of the times. He can't cover really, one-on-one from the slot, especially. But I love what Lou's doing with him is, hey, just put him in the zone. Put him in the zone. Really use him as the chess piece, because early in the year, he was getting cooked man-to-man, one-on-one. But if you use him to his skill set, have him floating around. We saw he even got the interception at the end of the game, which obviously got called back. But man, he was making some huge tackles, huge run stops, and the dude is just a baller. So he's the chess piece that definitely, this was the game where I was like, holy crap, that was a full 360 turnaround from the beginning of the season. But yeah, that was one of the other things I want to touch on.
Yeah, man. And it opens things up for a discussion again. Yeah. Who is the team to beat in the AFC? Ravens look great this year. Chiefs look this year. Bills look this year. The Bengals look to start the year, but now they're starting to rattle off wins. The AFC's there, man.
Yep.
It's there. And I think everything that the Bengals wanted to address at the beginning of the season, things that they wanted to accomplish, is still right in front of them. Now, obviously, you got to take it one game at a time, obviously, right? The Bills are up next, and it's a big one. It's a big one. And Cincinnati needs to show up loud. The Cincinnati Bengals fans need to show up loud and really show, people that this is the jungle and it's a tough place to play. But this is a spot where I think the Bengals can really take charge of their season again in a big way, man. Guys, while you're all here, we have over 150 people watching us live. We appreciate you. Can't do this without you. The only thing that we ask for, we're going to get to your questions as we always do. No super chats, none of that. We're going to answer your questions. Just give this video a like. We've got over 150 people here. If you guys could do us a huge favor, give this video a like and just subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're a first-time visitor of the channel, or you're a long-term visitor of the channel and you haven't subscribed, just subscribe to us, because we go live each and every single week. State of the Jungle is on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. with the rest of the crew at the First Star Logistics Studio. And we obviously recap every single Bengals game as well. So we just appreciate you guys. I also want to talk about just like the adjustment that the Bengals made, right? The adjustment that the Bengals made, man, and they went under center.
Yep.
And it made them so less predictable as an offense, man. It was huge, man. It was huge. And it showed that they can do it. And hopefully people saw today that the offensive line is no longer this glaring weakness on the Bengals football team that it used to be. And I feel like a lot of people A lot of people who aren't familiar with the Bengals, who don't keep up with the Bengals, it's an easy thing to throw darts at and say that's an issue on the team. But the offensive line to me hasn't really been necessarily an issue. And I've kind of sat here on every single show and I've kind of said that. I said there's been a lot of blitzings and things that have contribute to it. But I think that the offensive line, in terms of certain players doing their jobs, yes, there has been issues every now and again, but as a whole, though, I feel like the unit was just getting a bad rap from years past. And I feel like today, the way that they showed up and showed out was huge. And a lot of movement that they got, in the interior on the edges to help spring Joe Mixon to have a big game that he had, to help spring, Joe Burrow and give him time to find his open wide receivers, man. I just think that we need to talk more about how good of the offensive line has been. But I feel like this was one of those games on a national scale where people are starting to see it. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, and I think especially with offense, the way you win and the way you don't, screw yourself over is you have to be unpredictable. And that was one thing. I'm a huge round of applause to the coach staff again. The turn for me in this game was, it was the Tyler Boyd end around. It was I think it was a 3rd down, 3rd and 2, Tyler Boyd end around. You get the 1st down, boom, keep the chains moving. That's something that keeps the defense on their toes. It keeps them honest, because I'm telling you guys, the Bengals offense, when they've struggled, it's because you're predictable. It's because you're going to have a Jamar Chase comeback route. It's because you're going to have a Joe Mixon screen. But this game, you saw a complete offensive performance, right? You saw T. Higgins down the field. You saw Tyler Boyd in the middle of the field. You saw Irv Smith. I'm sure we're going to have this conversation, but you saw Irv Smith get involved, right? Then you saw Joe Mixon out of the backfield. Then you saw Jamar Chase. And then you saw Joe Mixon as a runner. I'm telling you guys, put yourself in the defensive coordinator's position, right? You're facing 2 different teams. One that has 1-star receiver and doesn't run the ball, or the other that has a star receiver but has 3 other receivers, has a running game, has a screen game. Which one's harder to stop? The one that has everything. And that's what this offense did. I'm going to go back and watch film, but I'm telling you guys, man, the end arounds, getting everybody involved, that's how you win football games from an offense standpoint. Also, Joe freaking Mixon, we were talking about him before the season, but the dude is absolutely balling out in the pass game. He's showing a burst that we didn't see last year. Mm-hmm. So just props to Joe Mixon, because this is the running attack that we wanted to see, right? They stuck with it, 16 carries, 87 yards, but it wasn't just the stats. It was how he was getting his yards. And you were able to get ahead of the chains. On 1st down, you get a gain of 6. That's how you win football games. You don't put yourself behind the chains. And just props to them, man. They suck with the run. There's not a lot of bad you can say about this offense performance. This type of game, if they show up in the playoffs, nobody can beat this offense. And nobody can beat this team. So I've got one last thing real quick. Defense, too. This is the Bengals defense. It's all about just timely turnovers. And that's been the theme of the Bengals all last year and even this year against Geno Smith. They didn't play a great game, right? We saw, Noah Fant was wide open a couple of times, but it was just the timely turnovers in the 4th quarter against Geno Smith. And the same thing here. The 49ers were mounting something multiple times. Turnovers. And man, this linebacking core, I can say a lot, but I'm telling you, if a defense can have timely turnovers and timely stops, that wins football games. Yeah. Doesn't matter about the full picture, honestly. Timely stops.
And I don't mean to bag on anybody, but you talk about it. A lot was made about the Ravens being able to trade for a guy like Roquan Smith and sign to an extension, who's an elite linebacker at that. But you get 2 of the most underrated linebackers who just play off of each other so well in Germaine Pratt and Logan Wilson. And that's not talked about enough, man. Yep. The continuity at linebacker, man. And if you have 2 capable starting linebackers, man, it could do a whole lot of good for your defense. If you don't believe me, go ask the Legion of Boom, right? They had a consistent unit at the linebacker front, man. And I think that's what you're seeing right here, man. The Bengals, man, are special, man. The Bengals are special, man. So I'm just excited for how everything is coming together for the Bengals, man, and how they kind of are sticking together as a unit. Definitely, if I had to be judgmental in one area, I would like to see more from the edge rushing position, because if Trey Hendrickson was to go out for long term, yeah, you know what I mean? Like that leaves a lot to be desired, man. So again, I just think going forward, this team could be really, really special.
Yeah, and I think like Sam Hubbard, for all he does, he's great. But I think that's the issue, right? If Trey Hendrickson's not on the field, then you guys can go back. There was one specific play where Brock Purdy got outside of the pocket and Sam Hubbard was there, but he just didn't have enough juice. Those are the plays where you're like, damn, you want some extra juice in the pass rush. So I'm with you. I think just some extra juice, whether it's Myles Murphy, who slowly gets back in and he, becomes that guy. But that's the position where you can definitely say, man, because I mean, Brock Purdy was only sacked twice. But yeah, man.
What do you guys think of this shirt, man? I just want to know.
Put it on a shirt.
Put it on a shirt. And we didn't write back, man. This is probably one of my favorite shirt designs that we came up with. Obviously, I stole the quote from Geno Smith, obviously the week that they faced the Seahawks. But no, it was true, man. A lot of people were writing this team's obituary and talking about how things were just falling apart. And I want to get to the point where we start answering some questions too. We got one question here from Stamina. You guys know we address every single question, every single comment. I just want to know what you're talking about. He said, can we get this kid off the podcast? Please get someone who actually knows what they are talking about. His defense comment is insulting to anyone who knows.
I love that. I appreciate that.
What comment was he saying that you made?
I don't know, to be honest.
All I can tell you was that nobody has embraced the Bengals quite like Daniel. He watches every single game and spins.
Yeah.
To be honest with you guys, in my honest opinion, he watches more film on the Bengals than I do. Yeah, I definitely.
I'd love to hear which comment he was talking about.
If you could just drop what comment he made that you felt was insulting to the defense, I'd like to hear that so we can definitely talk about it or address it, because I'm sure it probably just a miscommunication. But trust me,
probably not.
No, it probably was a misunderstanding. But he truly does his homework, man, and watches a lot of film on this team. And he knows what he's talking about. So
I appreciate that.
Let's definitely, if you can, my man, Stamina, drop that down in the comment section what exactly you're referring to. Then you can answer some of the rest of the questions so we can answer.
Real quick, before we get to the question, let me just read off something. I'm going to give you guys 9 teams right now. The Chiefs, the Eagles, the 49ers, Dolphins, Ravens, Jaguars, Lions, Bills, Cowboys. They're all favored to win the Super Bowl over the Bengals still right now. The Bengals are plus 1,800. The Chiefs are plus 500. They are the favorites to win the Super Bowl. And the Bengals, I still think they're being completely disrespectful. But hey, maybe I'll throw some money on that. But let's get to some of these questions. I know somebody was asking about Irv Smith and his fumble. What was your thoughts on Irv Smith and how he played today?
I think that Irv Smith is a guy that's getting involved in the offense. You guys know how I feel about the tight end position. We need an upgrade. We need to upgrade.
Yes,
it's no secret, right? It's an area where I felt that way since the season started. I felt like the negligence that was of attention that was given to the tight end position, and almost talking about the tight end position as if it was an afterthought, knowing it marries together with helping the quarterback and helping these wide receivers get open. I just thought it was just blasphemy. But I definitely think that the Bengals is a position that they can address and try to get more out of. I think it's a lot to ask of a guy like Irv Smith, who's been battling with injuries and hasn't really lived up to expectations. And then you throw a tight end screen to him, he gets held up and the ball gets punched out. That's a lot. Just a lot to ask of him. So there was a lot that went into that play. But the notion that I saw from so many people, Bengals just absolutely don't go for him. Well, a little bit error, right? Because the only active tight ends on the team today were Irv Smith, Drew Sample, and a long snapper and Cal Dimatis, who, that's not a guy that they were going to ever put in there as a tight end or as a receiver. So you had no other options to go to. And from a receiving standpoint, he's our best tight end on the roster at this point, even though he leaves a lot to be desired. You can't just go away from the guy. And that's just also not the quarterback Joe Burrow is. He's not going to ever just beat down on a guy's confidence and just forget to go to him. So it was cool to see him go back to him, give him a little bit of confidence. Listen, by all means, thankfully our defense was playing lights out. That play didn't break us. That play didn't stop whatever the Bengals were going to do. I don't know if there was a team, in the NFL today that could have beat this Bengals football team, the way they were flying around, the way that they played with confidence, and the way that they supported one another as every positional group. But yes, if you're asking me, should the Bengals make a trade for the tight end position? 100%. It's something that I believe that they should do. You guys know who I have my eyes on and who I've always had my eyes on, Gesicki and the Natty. $4.5 million is what the Patriots signed that guy to, and to underutilize him. What was his stats today? Can somebody find that out for me? What was Mike Gesicki's stats today? Because once again, I feel like the tight end position is something that you can probably get Mike Gesicki for a 6th, 7th rounder. And it sucks for a guy like that, right? Who is, has to, continuously, go from team to team, being on the Dolphins, not working out, being on the Patriots, not getting opportunities. So
2 receptions, 11 yards.
Okay, there we go. Two receptions, 11 yards to Mike Gesicki. Imagine what Mike Gesicki could do in this offense for the Bengals. I think you see a noticeable improvement, in the tight end position. And I know people out there that were saying, "Oh, Hayden Hurst, Hayden Hurst, Hayden Hurst," and there were some people that wanted to kind of go at me a little bit yesterday
Yeah.
on Twitter. No, just know something about me, guys. This isn't bragging, just being honest. You guys hopefully know my track record by now. I never say anything just to get on here and say it. I never tweet out anything just to go out there and tweet it out. So my track record, I'd like to think, speaks for itself when it comes to me saying things. The Bengals made no serious attempt to keep Hayden Hurst. That came from someone who told me from Hayden Hurst's side. They made no serious attempt. There was no contact with Hayden Hurst until a couple of days, into free agency opening up, if you will, where they made their first initial offer. Hayden Hurst got an offer from the Panthers. He came back to the Bengals for them to match it. The Bengals made no attempt to match it. They said, "Hey, well, we offered you what we offered you," and that was that. So there was no real attempt to keep him. And even when they tried to keep him, was after they lost their players. So it tells you that they obviously didn't value it enough, right?
Yep.
So I don't know if bringing Hayden Hurst back, who had 0 catches today for the Panthers. So I'm keeping track of a lot of these tight ends who are on teams.
Mhm.
I'm really curious to see how Cole Kmet gets used tonight versus the Chargers. I wonder if he goes and has another 1 catch to no catch game, even though they have Tyson Badgett there out there, because and you think that you sign that guy to an extension. I think he got signed to an extension.
Yeah.
You think that they make use of him. So the tight end position is something that the Bengals 100% can take advantage of. It's a position that Joe Burrow has seemed to get the most out of, dating back to his college days. He got the most out of an undersized tight end in Thad Moss. He got the most out of Sergio Zama. He got the most out of Hayden Hurst, so on and so forth. So I'd like to see them go out there and make the tight end position a focal point, because at this point you have to think about it this way. It's a 1 year, it's a half of a year rental at this point. That's going to help you potentially even in the playoffs, because guess what? When you get to the playoffs, and that's what the Bengals are fighting for, these teams will start to zone in. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, and I think there's like we talked about in State of the Jungle, there's a ton of tight ends that are available, a ton that are just underutilized. So stamina. So he said, saying the Bengals are turnover dependent. I never said they are turnover dependent. The whole point I was trying to make is the fact that the Bengals defense makes timely turnovers. I wasn't trying to disrespect what Germaine Pratt, Logan Wilson, DJ Reader do on a down-to-down basis. The whole point I'm trying to make is the fact that the Bengals have these timely turnovers. I can't say there's many other defenses in the NFL that have as many timely turnovers as the Bengals.
Regardless, let's talk about that. That's a ridiculous thing to even feel like is an insult.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, the Patriots, most of their entire run when they won championships with Matt Patricia, was dependent on timely turnovers from a defensive standpoint. That's what it was. And if you want a fact beyond it, to start the season, that's what the Bengals defense was. Yeah. They were very dependent on turnovers. They were very dependent on turnovers. The Seahawks are moving the ball up and down on the Bengals, and the Bengals were turnover dependent. If it wasn't for Mike Hilton's big time interception and so on and so forth,
they would have lost that game.
The Bengals don't win the game. So yes, saying that they are turnover dependent is not an insult. That's what they were to begin the season. Today, they were not turnover dependent. They were defensively dependent, which is why you saw so much being made of the defense. The fact of the matter, that's not a negative, right? But that's what they were to start the season. Now we're starting to see this defense grow, and that's what's going to happen. You have a lot of young guys in the secondary. That is what's going to happen. You guys are going to, the team is going to mature. The defense is going to mature together. So seeing the emergence of Logan Wilson today, Germaine Pratt today, because those are guys that weren't making as many plays to start the season, right?
Yep.
Mike Hilton is now rounding into form. He looks like himself as well. It's not a negative. It's a positive. The Bengals defense looks very, very good, and they're not solely dependent on turnovers like they were to begin the season. Now it's all rounding into form. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, completely. So I know somebody was asking, Andrew Woods, he said, what do you guys think of the roughing the passer calling DJ Reader? I mean, like, nowadays, with the way the NFL is currently being called, you can't really argue it, because you just look at all these other calls. That's what they're calling now. Is it right from a football standpoint to say, oh, is that really roughing the passer? Probably not. But 95% of these calls aren't. They're trying to protect the quarterback.
It was soft. It was soft, but it's one of those plays. If you look at the rule book, you can't go low on a quarterback's knees, and they're going to try to protect the quarterback. And it was soft though. Regardless, ball don't lie. Ball don't lie. Ball don't lie. It's the reason why you're able to get a pass rush going, and the very next play you're able to do a strip sack on the quarterback. So it's cool. It is what it is.
Yeah, Malcolm Wilhelm said Karras was robbed of a huge gain for a touchdown. That was funny, because like it actually was it was fumble. But I know somebody was asking. They said, "Oh, did Fred Warner even play today?" What was your thoughts on Fred Warner? What did the Bengals do to minimize his impact? Because before today, everybody was talking about. Even we were talking about because he's damn good. What'd they do?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you what they did, and I can't wait to go back and watch this on film with Daniel later this week. But they did a lot of pre-snap motion. They did a lot of um, things to get the linebacking core out of position. So I thought it was fantastic the way they were using Jamar Chase in and out of the backfield, Tyler Boyd in motion. They did all of that to screw with Fred Warner because Fred Warner is not a guy that you can go out there with a play, know what you're doing, stay in a set, and just do that. So how do you get linebackers? You basically test them to be disciplined. And today the 49ers linebacker unit wasn't disciplined.
Yeah. No, 1000%. And it's the same thing like we talked about before. It's how you run your offense. They ran basically everything you could do, end arounds, they ran quick passes, everything. So I know definitely somebody was asking about thoughts on the overall tight end play of the Bengals for Mayday.
If you want a grade on it, a D. A D. And it's only a D. It's only the reason why it's not an F is because we did get 4 receptions out of the tight end position today.
Yeah.
I think. Unless Drew Sample
4.
caught something.
Yeah.
I think he dropped his only pass he got. All right. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Akila the Great said, "Is Jonah Williams the first offensive lineman the Bengals have developed in a decade? It may be the worst O-line drafting run in history, but they may have finally hit on one, playing them at their natural position."
Yeah, I mean, I would have to go back in the memory bank and think. Yeah, Billy Price was bad pick. Yeah, maybe.
Jonah definitely
Maybe.
the fact that where he's playing right now, this is more so what you expected when you drafted him. And obviously people didn't really know what to expect. Some people thought he was going to be a superstar, obviously the injury and everything, but the way he's performing right now, like we talk about all the time, if you have adequate offensive line play, that's all you can ask for. And this offensive line, they're playing at least adequate, if not great right now. So I know somebody was talking about DJ Turner, right? DJ Turner, a couple big plays, but what was your thoughts on how DJ Turner's been playing?
I thought DJ Turner's been great, and I was laughing when Romo was trying to make it seem as if they should go out there and attack
Yeah.
DJ Turner. I was like, I think that'd be kind of crazy if you did that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I know there's some people saying, like Victor said, I've been critical of Zach's play calling, but this has been outstanding. What was your thoughts on Zach's play calling today?
Zach's play calling was great. I thought it started getting a little stale a little bit at moments in the game, and they were able to come back out and punch them right in the mouth. So again, I just think the Bengals were doing a very good job of winning on first and second down today, and it kept them out of those third and long situations. Right, they were in a lot of very third and manageable situations, which I believe Joe Burrow was at 1.4 for 4 and third down conversions, and it just speaks to how balanced this team was. They were balanced in the run game, they were balanced in the pass game, and everything was just sort of working together. I'm curious to see them continue to run the ball under center and run plays under center because I think it just kind of marries everything's together, honestly.
Yeah, Adam James is asking. We got 2 questions about trades. He said, "Should the Bengals trade for another cornerback just in case?"
No.
Yeah.
I personally like the room the Bengals currently have. You got Cheetah Beawuzie still getting back, rounding in the form from his ACL injury. You got Jalen Davis, obviously backup slot corner, Mike Hilton, Cam Taylor-Britt, DJ Turner. I think you're in a good spot from the cornerback spot, and you obviously have DJ Ivy if you ever need to go there. You got Sidney Jones on the practice squad still. I think he's on the practice squad. So there's a lot to be excited about there. It seems like this defense of this young group is starting to put everything together.
Yeah, and when you look at the Bengals history too about trades and everything, the cornerback, that's not going to be the position that they really target. We talked about. So let me go to our next guy, C. Griff. He said, with Chase Brown on IR, do you think that they are going to trade for a running back, or should they?
No, I think you got to trust the guys you got in there. And that's probably what they're going to say as well. You still got what's the running back's name that's sitting on the one they picked up, the one you keep talking about?
Demetric Felton, my boy.
Felton.
Yeah.
They still got Travion Williams, and a guy I'm always excited about, obviously, is Chris Evans.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And even like Travion Williams, I'm not the biggest fan of him as a runner. He had a nice run today. Yeah. Somebody, Michael Ruffin said, did you see Bosa whispering to Joe to tell him to take it easy on him?
No, but Bosa looked like he was fighting for his life out there, man. Orlando Brown, as Tony Romo called him, Trent Brown, had him in an absolute shambles. He had him in a blender. He had no idea what was going on, and I don't know what's going on with Nick Bosa this year. He does not look like the Nick Bosa of old. Has he got his contract yet?
I think he did, but at the same time, and this is where I think we're having this conversation. It's like he's getting the
Yeah.
pressures. So like but even today, like I doubt, I don't even think he had a sack today. He had some pressures, but
Yeah, he has some pressure for sure.
yeah. So
But
I
but
know,
but but at the end of the day, I understand people say, "Oh, well, it's you know, I almost did Evans impersonation, our guy from the state of the jungle." But he'll say like, he's getting the pressure, he's win pass ratio, and sacks don't tell the entire story, but sacks are what these guys are being judged off of. Just be honest
yeah,
with you, because that's very much malign on what people were saying about Carl Lawson. Well, Carl Lawson has the pressures, but he didn't have the production. So, and now he's with the Jets, and the Jets were really excited about him, and now he's not even active on game day. So, like, it's one of those situations where yeah, it's cool to see like pressure, stat ratio, all that stuff, but at the end of the day, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And you're being judged off the numbers. And I don't care if you had 20 pressures in the game. If your team loses and it shows that you have 0 sacks and 1 tackle for a loss, did you actually do your job?
yeah.
That's what you're going to be judged off of, unfortunately, in the NFL. And unfortunately, that's what it comes down to. These defensive ends, how they get paid is they get paid off of production. They get paid off of stats.
Yeah. I think the thing that you said, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And that's the sad part because like you can definitely tell how a guy's impacting the game, but
because I'm be honest with you,
yeah,
nobody, unless you're into advanced metrics, right?
yeah,
No, in free agency, teams aren't looking at you like, all right, what is this guy's stat line, right?
yeah,
They're not looking at you to say, oh, what is your stat? They're not looking at you to say, oh, look at his win pass ratio. If you want my honest opinion, Frank Clark probably loses a lot on the edge, but his sacks and he has the sack numbers to back it up, which is why that guy is still in the league, which is why that guy continuously robs teams all the time because he has the sacks to back it up. He might be a cleanup guy.
yep,
Trey Hendrickson, by all metrics, everybody thought he was just a cleanup guy,
yep.
right? But he had the production, he had the stat to break it up. Now you see what he's able to do. The fact of the matter is, you need to produce in the National Football League. That's like me saying, oh, well, a wide receiver is always he's a high volume catch ratio. Well, is he scoring touchdowns?
Yep. Yeah, and even another position, cornerback. You look at a guy like Marcus Peters. The dude gets beat so many times, or he used to, and then gets 6, 7 interceptions in the year, and everybody's like, all right, we're good because game-changing plays are turnovers, game-changing plays are sacks.
Those are plays that teams are going to judge you off of. Nobody's going to pick up a wide receiver who gets a bunch of yards but can't get into the end zone. It's like at some point you need to put it in there. You need to make it happen.
Yeah, Malcolm said, I still don't understand how Chris Evans doesn't see any reps in this offense. I think he was out there, but he was definitely, I think, probably used as a decoy.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the end of the day, like, respectfully, if the offense is, humming like it was today, yeah, like Chris Evans is good, but like if the offense is rolling, trust me, I'd much rather have my number 1 Jamar, my number 2 T Higgins, my number 3 Tyler Boyd, my number 4 running back in the flat, and number 5 tight end as a safety outlet. Chris Evans would definitely be a good gadget, but I think all these conversations even goes back to what we were talking about, trading for a running back, right? It's you need some extra explosiveness, but if your offense is humming like it was today, it's not like seeing Chris Evans on the field doesn't impact you when you're having an offense performance like today.
Maybe just convert him to a receiver.
If that's how they're using him.
That's how you're using him mostly. Just convert him to a receiver. He'll be an electric slot receiver. Somebody said, to be fair, the Bengals left 10 points on the board, 100%. I think this could have been even Bengals could have won this game by even a wider margin, which is crazy to say. They went into San Francisco and they dominated the Chiefs. I mean, they dominated the Niners. I'm already
thinking about them boys.
I can't wait, man. I'm smiling from ear to ear because, oh man, I just can't wait. I'll just keep my comments to myself until that time comes.
I mean, they lost today. They lost to the Broncos. So that's definitely going to be a fun matchup to see. I'm definitely it's for everybody to see. I mean, it's good football.
No, I'm not saying shit.
Yeah, I know. So, and I want to touch on real quick about how you said the Bengals left points on the board. Heading into halftime, this game could have been a blowout. Like,
who said lose the blue beanie next week?
Think so? I mean,
man, you're a hater.
No. I mean, it's probably fair. I mean, we got a nice little. I like it. I mean, it's beanie season. I'm cold in this house. Malik keeps us out. I'm kidding. But I mean, that was pretty much it. Talking about this game. I mean, is there any other things that you saw, whether it was from the defense, like Cam Sample, anything that went under the radar that we didn't talk about? I mean, Trent Irwin.
Nah, I mean, I would say you noticed DJ Reader flash more today. You saw him get more involved. You heard his name called a little bit more. So that was cool to see. Anything else that we didn't talk about? T. Higgins looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm just really proud of Jonah Williams. That's something that I just can't continue. Can't keep talking about enough, man. 80% completion rating is crazy. That's like my Madden stat line. Like that's what Joe Burrow had, an 80% completion rating.
Why do I feel like it was higher? 12. So no, that was like 85. At 85, he threw 32 times, missed 4 passes. How the hell do you miss 4 passes? Like that's
about being locked in, man.
Yeah, completely locked in.
Talk about being locked in, man. That's how you do it.
Yeah, and I guess if there's anything else, I'm excited to just see Charlie Jones back in the punt return role because like Trent Irwin's good, but that's something where we saw juice out of Charlie Jones right away. And field position is so important. I want to point out one game today, the Giants versus Jets. If anybody watched that game, they saw it was a nasty game, 10-10, terrible game. It was a battle of field position. And Brad Robbins had some good punts today too. So I think that's an underrated part of the game where, once again, we have to project towards the playoffs, right? In the playoffs, that's what matters. Field position matters. Brad Robbins from the beginning of the season to now has made leaps and bounds, and we're not even having a conversation. We're not talking about it. So it's a good thing. So
there is one area I do want to talk about we haven't talked about just yet. How about Joe Burrow's rushing ability?
Yes.
How about his rushing ability, man? That that we always talk about his ability to pass, but man, a lot of the plays he made today on his legs, and the books were disrespecting him, man. His line was at 8.5 rushing yards. Man rushed for 43 yards today, and I was a couple times he didn't even tell you, and it could just be the protector in me, but I was like, man, go down, just go down. And he just continuously rushing for more and more yards, and it was because these defenders, they look for the opportunity to pop these guys, man.
Yep.
And man, just seeing the way he was able to just run, man, and make something happen, man. This offense looks special today, though.
And like, to be honest, for everybody watching, enjoy this. Like, this is the Bengals that we expected before the season, right? The conversation that we were having before the season, and we were on the same page, right? They're winning the Super Bowl. And why? It's continuity in the coaching staff, same head coach, same defense coordinator, same offense coordinator. You add to the offensive line, continuity on defense, continuity on offense. You have a superstar quarterback. What more do you need? And we saw that. You saw Joe Burrow as a superstar quarterback today. At the beginning of the season, no rushing ability. Beginning of the season, couldn't step into those throws. The beginning of the season, there was no juice on offense. Now we're here. And it's a long season. Still got 11, 12 more weeks or 10 more weeks, however many long. You got a huge game against the Bills. But enjoy this, Bengals fans, because this conversation we're having right now is a much different conversation than we were having heading into Arizona. So Bengals fans, if you guys are watching this, know it's a long season, but this team, regardless of what the Super Bowl odds are saying, like we talked about, they're the 10th. They have the 10th best odds to win the Super Bowl. Regardless of what the odds are saying, this team is right there because you got the quarterback and you have the continuity. So, man, just enjoy this. Like, this is, man, you're 4-3. You're in a good spot, and like we talked about, you got everything is in front of you, and that's a beautiful thing. So,
absolutely. Also, just want to remind you guys, somebody is going to win 2 tickets to the Buffalo Bills versus Bengals game. All you have to do is follow me on Twitter or X and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That announcement comes tomorrow. We get to find out who wins the 2 tickets to the Bengals versus Bills game. And I'm pumped up, man. Yeah. I'm pumped up, man. It's always a pleasure to be here with you guys each and every single week, discussing all things Cincinnati Bengals. Remember, we'll be back live on State of the Jungle Wednesday at 7 p.m. Me and the crew, me and the boys. And Mondays was when we record for the sit down with Malik, Wright. You get to see my reaction amongst all things around the league, UFC, boxing. Definitely got to talk about that Fransisco versus Tyson Fury fight. But yeah, this is a good time. This is a good time. This is exciting for the Bengals fans because this is the team that we expect them to be. What did my man say? They are who we thought they were. They are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook. No, but they didn't let us off the hook. So the Bengals honestly responded in such a big way today, man. And it's good to see. But Make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow First Star Logistics on X or Twitter, because remember, every week the Bengals play a game. First Star Logistics will be doing a giveaway of some sort. This week's giveaway, it will be the Bengals themed jukebox. So head on over to their Twitter to look at the pinned tweet to see what you have to do in order, to get a chance to potentially win that. Until next time.